Hi all. So now we'll continue trying to create a simulation or visualization out of towards this elevation that we extracted from our Rhino model previously, and we are going to make it and follow a bit similarly what we did for our top view, but this needs a bit more work because of these curved surfaces, but it's pretty much the same workflow, bringing in textures, materials, and what we didn't do before was bringing in human figure and vegetation, which we'll do now. So the first thing we need to start putting in is we need this kind of define what the image is, and in this case, as you can see, this is a background image, and we'll start trying to get a ground kind of element, and which I can use this rectangle tool, and then we can proceed from there. Basically, you want just for reference a big, in this case, could be for now a bold line, and then we'll see what continues from there. We can manipulate this with many type of elements that can be manipulated. So now this is just for reference, and as you can see, the rectangle edit it creates another line. So I'm going to lock this one as well, and I'm going to bring in now the texture, the main texture here. One thing that's interesting and we should do immediately and we'll start seeing is we'll need to manipulate this image because it's a bit too faint, the kind of volume, and we'll need to make that more expressive. And for that, you just unlock the layer, select that layer, go to image, go to adjustments, the same, and brightness and contrast, and you'll start, crunch, get a little bit darker image, slightly, -5, it's fine for me, but that depends on what image you have, and increase the contrast or decrease the contrast. In my case, I wanted to make a bit more expressive, so I'm going to put the maximum value and have this kind of clear inside outside kind of value element that I wanted to expose. Press OK, and so this is only applicable to this layer. So every time you select the layer and go image and make adjustments, it only applies to that layer itself. If you want to do an overall layer, we'll go later on that. So next phase, we can bring in people, let's say, and again the same thing. Once you go to Chrome or Google, if you go people silhouette, in this case I just want black filled in people, you can actually go silhouette and not from the top, but you can also get people from the top with shadows already incorporated, actually, and you can go from Pinterest and everything. But again, be careful with the size of the image. This is too small. So if you go to tools and at least use medium size, then it will become much better definition. You can start placing those people into the plans or everything. In this case, we'll stop. But if you go people, it's just PNGs immediately, or cutouts. It just pops up. So in this case, I went with the silhouette and PNG, and go here again. Medium size will be ideal. You can go and see the ones that has this kind of checkered background. They're already in PNGs, so you can just right-click, save images, and as you see, you'll see that it will come up. In this case, it's still a JPEG, so actually there's no transparency. But if we get a PNG, let's see if we get any PNG here. Yep, perhaps this one, save images. You can go to the websites and download it. Yeah, so this is a PNG. So this checkered is already transparency, and basically I already download those, so this is what we are going to see. And in this case, this would be for our top view, which we didn't use, but it's the same procedure. And in this case, it's a JPEG, as you can see. It says here JPEG, so there's no transparency. In order to extract the people from, if it's not a JPEG, but if you really like that image, again, it's the same thing. You'll go either to the magnetical tool or the magic wand, and select whatever image there is, and we get, so this is a PNG. We can immediately import to that, and we'll see the difference. And this is also a PNG. Let me see, this is JPEG, so we'll see the difference between the JPEG and the PNG and importing it. So at this moment I'm going to select all this image, so Control C, or if you go with the lasso tool is the same. So Control O, Control C, and you go to the elevation, and you'll just start placing. And so there's one image. Obviously it will pop up in a layer, and there we go, layer 1. I'm going to put this one here, and then we'll start placing those elements, those human figures. Again, it's really important to have human figures. Don't press Shift again, because it gives you a sense of scale, and that's really important to what's going for architecture, right? So I'm going to perhaps sit this person here and scale it down to the size that it should be. So sitting people is always difficult because you don't have a kind of a sense of what can it be, how tall can they are, and but I still believe that this is a bit too big, and so I'm starting with the end actually. But again, if for example we were playing with blue, if we wanted to play this person to paint it with blue, we can do it later on and edit any color that's inside of this area. So if you get color picker here, it's okay, and go to the paint bucket, and just crank in the blue. Actually, our blue was not this live, so it was kind of more a gray variant out of it. So yeah, something like this, even lighter, I believe. Yeah, something like that. So, and go to the paint bucket, drop the paint bucket here, so the person starts to become blue. The ground can also be, so it's always kind of a language and a graphical tool. The ground can also be placed as blue. You select the rectangle. Oops, sorry. You select the rectangle here. It was locked, and it's okay. And you can press the same. So it starts having that kind of same kind of visual quality to the color. And so this is the initial. Actually, we shouldn't have started with this, but just bring in PNG people versus the JPEG, which were here. Sorry, not that one. Top. This is a tree, which we'll also bring in. Yeah, so this is one. So versus these people, which actually it's a JPEG, so it's not transparent, but it's pretty much the same thing. You select with a wand, make a tolerance very low, select all the elements. I mean, if you increase the tolerance or decrease, if you do a cutout, you'll start seeing what's left out, and just for image, and but you can Control C and go back to the elevation and Control V and place the image there wherever it needs to be, and in this case we're going to place it here. Sorry, it was selected, so let's go put it there. Again, there was a cutout in, so that's if you want to place. If you enter, you select it, so it's fine. You are happy with the whole situation. You see, so maybe this person should be a little bit actually smaller. So layer layer 2 is businessman, and I'm going to put at the same type. So layer 1, I'm going to make her a little bit smaller. And so that will allow to get that human scale correctly, which is very important. Select this one, and if you want to paint them as well, go with the paint bucket, and because the color is already selected, you just go and select, and it starts to have that kind of quality. So we can later on transport to any other images. So now that we have all this, I'm happy with the human figure. I'm leaving the rectangle on, but taking out the humans, and I'm just going to the human figure, and I'm just going to get the timber texture. So we'll Control C, and we'll bring it into the elevation. Control V, another layer pops up. So this one needs to be below the people, below the human figures, and above the rectangle, right? So that's where we want to go. Or actually even below the rectangle will be fine, because we might hide some lower ends that are going to be here. So I wanted to make it again horizontal. I'll press Shift. Again, it gives you orthogonal curvature, and it will start. I'm going to lock all the other layers. So in this one, I'll lock this. I'll lock the rectangle as well, and that's fine. The other ones are not visible. So in this case, we exactly do the same thing as we did for our plan, and in this case I'm going to stretch the planks by pressing Shift and making it as big as our model. Again, I'll bring it transparent. Like this, we can start seeing what are effects. So in this case, it's not about taking the elements out, because if we took the elements out, this will start show like straight planks. What actually I want to do is form this kind of curvature around, so the wood is offering that curvature as well, and that's going to be kind of interesting to see how it deforms. And for that, in order to deform any kind of element, you'll go to sorry. Edit, image, sorry, it's just here. Edit, transform, and on the transform you have all these options. You can scale, you can skew, distort, or put it in perspective. So this allows you to create certain elements. So if you want to create perspective, maybe perhaps this is what, the perspective might not help you. So perhaps this would be if you had some square or kind of rectangular kind of element. This could be allow you to do that. That's how distort does, and enhance even the perspective on the planks, as you can see. You can, if you Control C, Control V, you will have another layer, and Control C, Control V, and if I'll go in this, select this layer just for trial, show you how can be put in as perspective. You can skew, rotate. In this case, if you want to rotate, you can rotate vertically, or you can actually go, if you want to mirror, in this case that's what I wanted to do, flip vertical. So that will basically oops, sorry, flip horizontal. That's what I meant. Edit transform, flip horizontal, and that basically will start creating a cube, right? So this is kind of how you can deform with the using the transform, the distort tool. In our case, what we actually want to do, so in order to undo, if there's too many actions, and if you didn't save undo, you can go to Window, go to History here, and it will show you everything that you did. And I'm going to erase the latest ones. So this is all I did. I'm going to trash this. So it jumps many undos basically. And I'll go, yep, so until here. Yep. So yeah, so these ones I'll select all of these from here to here and drag and drop, and then you get the original element. So what we wanted to do, again, we did this. In this case, we stretched it towards more or less the end. We made it the layer, the specific layer, we made it a bit transparent in order to see what's on the back. Like this, we can align to what there is, and start editing, transform. And again, in this case, because it's curvy and it's the most complex one, is the warp. So the warp allows you to this kind of, there's handles which are small circles that you can see here, versus the big circles that are on the corner. So it's very subtle changes, but what this allows you is to actually bring the texture into the curvature, right? And try to make it as an element that is going to compose. In this case, actually what we needed to do is to have this big of a texture. So we actually move this here, and this one can go there. Basically, we need to move all this element until here in order to start creating that curvature here, right? So that's what we wanted, this final curvature. So we'll move it down and start creating that smooth element here. Again, the closer you get, the smaller the curve you'll get. And the bump that you'll see here is because it's too stretched. So we can create this element here and start creating this focus point here. So this is a kind of one way of creating these textures. And again, you can move them up and down and create what you want to achieve in your render. So this is one. So I'm happy with this. So I'm going to place it. It's fine. Then we need to cut off this. Actually, I needed to go and redo that. There's a little bit here that's not well finished. So you go on warp. Again, it doesn't give you the original one. It gives you a new one, but you can kind of warp this kind of, yeah. So now it starts becoming a bit more accurate. Once you are happy, you press enter, and then you can cut off again the same thing either with this, and again you need to select the layer, otherwise you won't cut off. And in this case didn't work out, so I'm going to redo it. And one thing is to zoom in. It gives you far more definition. Start here. Again, for the first one, this is okay. And then delete. Okay, so there's this one here that didn't work out. So starting from here. Delete. So it's a bit of a patience. And again, if you are not happy with whatever the results might be, just a question of trimming those out. And in this case, we trim those. Actually, we shouldn't go there. So you can also undo if you are not happy, go back. And in this case, all right. So one way of trying to overcome this is to make the frequency a little bit okay. So this worked out. So and now we need to go and take a little bit of those elements there, and for that maybe we can zoom in and do it a bit more manually, and go through this, but with a polygon like this. You can actually extend those. So I'm leaving the white inside, so there's an interior coating of white, let's say, and the outside becoming a timber. But if you wanted to make it also timber, we could add another layer of timber, which we'll do for the other side anyway. So and that's what we are going to do now. So this is, I extract this part. Delete. And now, okay, so I'm fairly happy with this. Again, and we'll go and select, and we'll zoom in now, and bring another layer. So actually, we are going to use again the same thing, timber, and you know, Control C, elevation. This one is not. Undo. Should we select this one? And now we are going to paste the same, so it's exactly the same element. So what we'll do is use the same scale and everything, and try to emulate the same thing on this side. So I know it's going to be from this area until somewhere there. All right, so here we go. Yep. And again, use the opacity. And again, you should know the value for this one, but we'll can fish it later. So and warp this one again as well to try to get the curvature here. So I go edit with the texture selected, edit warp, and basically you'll start using this kind of element. So this starts to translate to that curve. That's what we want, and use the plank or the edge of the plank to define our element. So it starts to fold inwards. That's because the handles are not placed correctly yet, and yeah. So now we'll start fitting in nicely. Again, it would be important to have the division of the plank happening. So we could start actually adjust it like here, and yeah. So again, it's important that the same adjustment occurs. So we can have this here. We want to have the same plank dimensions. And bring in this here. So again, it's always the accurateness of the case that needs to be dealt with. All right. Okay, so here the fold, you might decide to break it here or bring it down. Just create that curve. And if it is the case, again, how do you want to bring those folds in? That's really, really important. So I think this will be better. It will work better. So it will cut off from there. So that's what we'll do. So now I'm okay with it. Select that layer again. Yeah, below the rectangle is fine. And go and try, zooming in and cut off the rest. With a magnetic lasso. So outside there's nothing neat, so it's all fine. And what we want to cut off, it's the outside. So select inverse, delete, and then we need to cut off these areas here, which I'll use the lasso tool to zoom in. And and zoom out. I'm fairly happy. Now there's the image here, so this element needs to be cut off as well, and I'll cut off through that line and using either, yeah, let's try this one. Seems to be faster now. And this is even more difficult because it's a curvy surface. And delete. And try to kind of create this emptiness here, or kind of void. You can create an image of putting somebody there, or yep. And select and delete. Oh, okay, so I actually, it's done. So if we want to go here, you go there, unlock it, and now do that one. Again, that's more accurate the better. So this allows us to put something there inside, some person or something like that. So yep. So now let's okay. So now let's start to bring all the layers. So there's layer 2, there's this person, that one, layer 1, and which is placed here. And now I'm just going to put a person there, and to finish up the drawing. So I'll go to people, not top one, somebody that's standing. Yep, so let's go with this person, and I'll just try to get this person here. So I'm going to get the whole family, but so afterwards, once I place it here, again, there's another layer, and again, we need to, in this case, we need to put it below, because I want to make it behind the wall, right? So that goes below layer 5, and actually we'll start. We need to make it smaller, obviously, and going to put it here. Person, again, the size is very important, and going to create this, and once I place it there, I can now select on that layer going to lock this one as well. So that one's the one that I'm using. Locking this one in order not to cut anything, and just to activate this one in order to not to have any mistakes, and I'm just going to cut off that area. There goes zoom. And basically select that layer, obviously, and making this person select inverse and delete. So now we have this person here that's looking out of the window, and that will allow us to give a bit more action, let's say, to the image, and again use the paint bucket to fill it in. So this is fine. And the last thing I'm going to use is add in a tree silhouette. It's already a PNG, so it's the same thing. Control C, Control All, or select. Okay, so yep. So this is what we need to select. You know, that seems pretty accurate. Control C, elevation, Control V. Again, these elements allows us to actually hide things. So if things are not well done, you can always place them and try to hide that kind of the elements that you didn't have time to work out. But in this case, it's just the more accurate it is, the better. And in this case, I'm just going to add it on to this layer. Again, it offers a set of action, of liveliness to the drawing. Okay, so that's that. And in order to export this image, you can select everything here, and you have this image produced. And again, if you need this or not, it's up to you, but if you do, I would recommend definitely to extend this. And switch is locked. Not this one. The rectangle. Here you go. And yeah. So that one, file, save, and then you have this image as well. Save on your computer. All right. So this is basically what we need to do for this week. This manipulation of image, adding textures, adding figures, and we'll start composing it to more complex images. All right. Thank you.